All right, welcome to the Cinematography Legends podcast. This week's guest, so good, I can't wait. But let's thank Roscoe Labs. Let's create something brilliant together. If you need anything as far as LED lighting, backdrops, paint, anything set related, gobos, go see roscoe.com, and they're going to give you exactly what you need or send you to the right dealer. So today's guest, I know through reading a book. I've read the book so much, it's falling apart. I consider it a piece of, it should be in the Smithsonian. This book is so good. But and when I read books, I always say, well, who are these guys? I need to go down the rabbit hole. So for my guest today, I said, I got to find out about him. And when I went to this rabbit hole, here's my notes. Amazing. So let's welcome to the show, please. Jim Plannette is here. There you go.
Thank you very much.
That's my studio audience.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to read this real quick because Jim and I were joking off the air about it's about a 45-minute show. So when you have worked for the following directors, I consider you an icon. Here we go. Terry Gilliam, Steven Spielberg, Jack Lemmon, Robert Wise, Jack Hill, John Milius, Ron Howard, Ridley Scott, Bob Rafelson, Steven Soderbergh, David Mamet, who actually goes to my jiu-jitsu school, and Paul Thomas Anderson. Most people, Jim, would be saying to themselves, just let me work for Paul Thomas. Just let me work for John Milius, right? All of them, right? It's an incredible career you've had. And we'll get to the fact that your dad also was in it. Give him a couple movies, guys. Check this out. Young Frankenstein, Which Way is Up, and Jim, you don't know this, but Champions a Love Story? I love that movie as a kid.
Yeah.
E.T. Come on, Jim. Big Top Pee-wee, Rocky V, Fisher King, Free Willy, Braveheart, little picture called Braveheart, Magnolia, 8mm, All the Oceans, 11, 12, and 13. Shall we begin, sir?
I don't think I can. My gosh, you've done it.
Are you considered in certain circles, honest, no ego, whatever, the greatest gaffer of all time?
No.
Who do you think? All right, who's in the running then?
Well, I think that's impossible. I really do. Certainly I'm a good gaffer, but I don't know who you would. I think it's an impossible title to have. Okay. I really do.
You're in the running, though.
Now that I'm 80 years old, people call me a legend, which I question a little bit as well. But I've just been doing it a long time. I've been a gaffer for 50 years. And
so amazing.
But also, those things that you read, I've been lucky. Luck is a big part of anybody's career, to be available when you get this opportunity. Or just a quick story. I was years ago doing a little movie with John Alonzo at Paramount called Sheila Levine is Dead and Living in New York. And we were shooting a test on stage, and we got this call. The movie has been postponed indefinitely. You're all off. And what the heck, So the star of the movie, Jeannie Berlin, had rewritten the script and taken it to Robert Evans. And Robert Evans told Sid Fury, the director, and he became, pardon the pun, furious, and stormed out of the office and said, no actresses are going to rewrite my script. And so they postponed the movie indefinitely. I was out of a job. John Alonzo had a pay or play. So they're paying him. And then they said, wait a minute, we're not that happy with the DP on Chinatown. So they fired the DP on Chinatown, and that's how John got Chinatown. And the key grip got me a job with a cameraman we'd never worked with before, Jerry Hirschfeld, called Gravy Train. And that's how I got Young Frankenstein. So Jeannie Berlin is responsible for John Alonzo doing Chinatown and me doing Young Frankenstein. Now that's just absolute luck,
Yeah. Do you find you get momentum though, because you've done something? People say, I want Jim because he had done this.
Well, no, that certainly helps, certainly. Or, I get recommended to somebody and they go to IMDb and they go, oh, wait, yeah, let's get him.
Yeah.
So no, that certainly helps. Your background and your experience certainly helps. Um, lately I've been doing low budget movies, and one of the reasons is that everyone's there for the right reason, to make a good movie, not to get rich.
Mhm.
And I like the challenge of a low budget movie. But I've always treated my budget as if it were low, so that I don't order anything I don't need. Years ago, I was doing a movie and I told the rigging gaffer to get a 60-foot condor for the night work. And I arrived on location and it was an 80-foot condor. And I said, well, wait a minute, I asked for a 60. Well, he said, just in case. I said, no, not just in case.
Yeah.
You bring what I order. Well, he said, this is a $50 million movie. I said, pretend it's a $5 million movie.
Yeah.
Because at the end, something might come up that you hadn't imagined and you're out of money.
What's the difference between a 60 and 80? Is it quite a bit?
It is quite a bit. It's almost double. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And which seems ridiculous, but the point is, I only order what I need. And so if I ask a production manager for something, he or she knows it's because I need it.
Yeah.
And so they say yes right away without any problem.
That reputation that you're not going to go
right.
overboard, and that helps out a lot going in, I imagine.
And it's a bigger challenge. Anybody could do it with everything in the world, but try to do it with just a little bit of stuff,
Yeah, yeah. What do you feel like over the years, what's made it easier for you? I know the LED technology, but I'm saying we all know that lights and cameras have gotten better. Lights have gotten better. What piece of equipment have you been blown away with that you wish you had when you started?
An arc? No.
Nice. I want to use an arc so bad.
So I think the thing that's made it easier from the time I started till now is the latitude of what we're shooting. The latitude of the film, of course, is much bigger than it was when I started. And the latitude of HD is just incredible. So it doesn't take as much light to balance to the exterior because the latitude is so great.
Yeah.
So I think that.
What ASAs were you working with when you very first started, like 25 and stuff?
No, I'm not that old, John. No, I think it was 50 when I first started. Wow. My father was working at 12.
No way.
Yeah, my father did a movie called Cover Girl with Gene Kelly and Rita Hayworth at 3-strip Technicolor, 12 ASA. And I mean, it's just, the amount of light is incredible.
Nothing but brutes, right? Nothing but arcs all day. Is that what? That's it, huh?
He did a movie called The Big Fisherman in 1959, 65 millimeter Panavision. They were shooting on a stage at Universal, stage 12. The set covered the entire stage. They had 75 arcs and 475 10Ks, and they were working at 1,200 foot candles. How
much copper tone sun lotion did they have?
No, for sure. And of course, no air conditioning in 1959, and the smoke, and it must have just been a night. And
could you imagine like bringing your dad back today and going, "Hey, check it out"? He'd be like, it would be much. So my question being then is like, what do you foresee in the future? Like, where are we going with this? Is it going to get even better, or you think we're kind of stagnating?
Well, I think it'll get moderately better, maybe, but not as dramatic as it's been in the last few years.
True. Yeah. I think it's just a resolution game, which I can't stand for the cameras. And then lights, I think we're stuck on LEDs for a while, but that's not bad. I mean, the colors are getting better on them.
They are. I use both. I don't just use all LEDs. I use a lot of different things, but, and I don't use something just because it's brand new. I wait to see whether it works or not. And if it does, then I use it. But some of the things that I think are just unbelievable are like light panels. Light panels are just incredible with the range of color and the different functions. I mean, I did a big fire effect with some S60 light panels.
Do you remember like when the cops came, we used to have to spin, to get the twirl and the light. Now it's like, just go like this, bink, and then you got it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, no, it's wonderful.
Yeah. What do you, what light, I always have this thing if you're on an island, but I won't do that just yet. But what light, if you're on an island and you could have 3 lights, what light has produced the best quality you've ever seen as far as, is it a tungsten? Are you a tungsten? Are you saying it's tungsten only? Or what do you think? Because you're the man. I got to ask these questions.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure there's a right answer for that, but um, it's not so much the light as it is the way you use it. Um, a 10K is a wonderful light, but it's even better if you bounce it.
Oh, cool. Okay, that's stuff I'm looking for.
Yeah, because that makes it. And I think about fill light as being non-light. It's really what you put on the scene so that the audience sees it the way they would to your eye. So, and I try to make the lighting invisible. I love watching a movie that looks like it wasn't lit at all, when in fact it was.
Yeah.
And so if if the light comes from outside, that's the way it is in reality and stuff like that. Ceiling bounces are very helpful because they avoid reflections and yet they give some ambient light in the room, or a muslin over the ceiling with a light coming through it on a set to give ambient light. I think that's really handy.
Is there something that you saw through your career that you were like, well, that is like high level shit, or like stuff that's beyond, like, the muslin with the lights coming through? That's nice. When you saw it, was there one thing that blew you away? I mean, you've worked with, I got my list again too. You've worked with Alan Daviau, Stephen Poster a lot. I love Stephen. He's awesome. John Alonzo. Is there something that you were like, that's really cool, that blew you away? Was there something that you saw?
Not that pops in my head. I'm sorry.
Okay, you got so much going on up there.
Well, one of the things in about 1972 or 3, my first job with John Alonzo was a TV pilot, and we shot off the lot for a while, and then we came on the lot, and we were on this set that had been used by another show. And so I went in, and I had green beds and lights all around, and I thought, wow, what do I do with all this stuff? And but I saw that there was a ceiling piece that they'd rolled up, in case they ever saw the ceiling, they would roll it out. So I rolled the ceiling piece out that was muslin, and I took all the lights on the green bed and put them at a 45-degree angle through the muslin, and then put lights through the windows. And we were ready. And I had never seen that or done that before. And I only did it out of desperation because I didn't know what else to do. And John looked at it and he said, "Oh, that looks good." I said, "Okay, let's go."
So that's another thing I feel in your position is sometimes the desperation you have to create something, if not, you're screwed.
No question. There was this director, Rodriguez, whose first movie had a $9,000 budget and they spent $7,000. And he said that when we had a problem, we had to solve it creatively. We couldn't throw money at it.
Yeah. Robert Rodriguez, is that who you're?
Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
That's absolutely the answer, Try to solve it creatively, not by throwing money at it.
And I feel too, like the more, I mean, I'm only year 22 of this, so you're like, but I always feel like there's your go-tos. Like, okay, in this situation, there's your go-tos. Do you have many go-tos, like exterior day, interior night? Do you have like a basic you like to go with, or you paint every time you see the situation?
That's a little pretentious, John. I don't think so. Because every situation is slightly different, When John and I did Legends of the Fall, we didn't use much light outside, but yet sometimes we lit Brad Pitt really a lot outside. But he had an ASC screening for the movie before it was released. And when the lights came up, Haskell Wexler happened to be sitting behind us. And he said, "John, how about that? A whole movie in backlight." Because we were out in the middle of nowhere and the background is the background. So you could keep turning so that the sun was always up in a backlight.
Wow. They had a little thing too, didn't they? They had a little back in the day, those two, right? From Days of Heaven, right?
No.
I thought Hexler started to that movie and then John finished it or something. Or no, he came in and did the...
No.
Okay.
Days of Heaven was started with Nestor Almendros.
That's right. I'm sorry.
And then he had to leave for another commitment. And Haskell came in. and finished the movie. But Haskell ended up doing 50% of the movie. And everything that has lights involved in it was Haskell. All the exterior was Nestor. And Nestor won the Oscar and didn't even mention Haskell.
That's what I study so much that I get crossed over.
No, of course.
I'll get in trouble one day. They're going to say, that wasn't me.
So then John Toll did a movie with the same director who, notoriously doesn't like to use lights. And to me, it's his best looking movie is Thin Red Line.
Yeah.
But John used lights. And so the director never used him again.
Oh, no way. And
yeah.
John, I've heard from I was at a Neil Preston, the rock photographer. He did a exhibition one time and I was there. And I listened to him talk and he goes, I learned more from John Toll in one day than I knew in my career. And I'm like, and Neil was an iconic rock photographer, one of the best ever. And he said, no, John taught me things. And I was like, that's so cool.
Oh, absolutely.
What special things did you get from John through your career?
We really, I've known him for 45 years and we really work collaboratively. And when you collaborate with somebody, you forget whose idea it was because it's a little bit of this idea and a little bit of that idea. That's what a collaboration is. And so then we're doing this together. And, I think if you ask him what he learned from me, he would have the same answer. I don't know, we work together.
Yeah.
And, let's do, that. And, that together, that works,
Braveheart is a beast of a movie, and those exteriors, I can't wrap my head around it. Like, you have any insight you can give on some magic he threw on that movie?
Well, I'm not going to name the cameraman, but there was a cameraman that said John never should have won the Oscar for that movie. It was all exterior.
Oh,
come on. That's the hardest thing. If you're on stage, you're in total control.
Yeah.
When you're outside, you're at the mercy of the weather.
That's an absolute fact.
No, for sure. And so we shot 6 weeks in Scotland. And it rained every day but 3 days.
I was going to say, known for its shining sunshine out there.
Well, there's the wedding scene with the 3 days it didn't rain, so we were lucky.
Wow.
But we, things were going slow, and we were getting behind schedule. And John is not the kind of DP that just shoves the director aside and says, "This is what we're going to do." He wanted to make sure that Mel Gibson got the movie he wanted, and because of that, it was taking a little bit longer.
Right.
And John kept saying, "We're going to get fired. We're going to get fired." So then one morning we're driving to work and he said, "I have good news and bad news." I said, "Well, what's that, John?" He said, "We're not going to get fired." Okay. I said, "Well, what's the bad news?" "We got to finish the movie."
Oh, wow.
Because it was really hard,
But look what you get, right? You look what you get from it. You get something that's beyond iconic,
No, for sure. No. And working with Mel Gibson was absolutely a pleasure. If he sensed there was any kind of tension or something, he'd pull some kind of a joke or say something funny just to lighten the mood of everybody. And
he gets a bad rap, right? I mean,
unreasonably, because he's really terrific.
Oh, that's awesome. So, I'm a DP at heart. So when I put my faith in gaffers immensely, but Stephen Poster, you worked with a bunch and a lot, right? Stephen Goldblatt a lot, actually.
Just one movie with Stephen Goldblatt.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I did actually.
For the boys.
Okay. And John Alonzo, and Alan Daviau. I mean, geez, and
Alan was wonderful. It was his first feature, and so we kind of played good cop, bad cop. If there was something Stephen wanted to hear, then Alan would tell him. If it was something he didn't want to hear, I'd tell him.
That's awesome. And you made it through.
No, for sure. Yeah.
What's it like? I mean, what's it like working for Stephen? Is it cool?
The movie was relatively low budget. And if we got a little bit behind, he'd say, "Come on, guys, I'm going to lose my furniture," because he'd signed the completion bond. Okay. And I had to laugh, come on.
Yeah, right.
And but because he signed the completion bond, he owned 40% of the movie.
Whoa.
Not bad.
More than some furniture.
But, he, so I I make a lot of suggestions, and not just about lighting. And so I would make a suggestion to him, and his immediate response always was, no, 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 I don't want to do that. But then he'd think about it and he'd say, yeah, okay, let's do that. And so I realized that he was so focused on what he was doing that any kind of suggestion was kind of a distraction. And so he'd kind of wave it off. And so I thought, I'm kind of like that. And so I realized that maybe not quite as bad, but I was like that. And so now I'm not. If I hear a suggestion, I consider it. And if it's a good idea, great, let's do that. And if not, I'll say, no, I think we should continue what we're doing.
Okay.
But, and with Stephen, sometimes you had to kind of show him limits. And it was kind of like being a dad with a young child. You tell the child, you can't do that. And then the child forgets and does it again. He said, remember, we're not doing that. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, but that's kind of a cool thing because he's so in his head that that's why he's one of the greats that ever lived, you know?
Yeah, he operated, I don't think too many people know this, 95% of the movie.
No way.
And really well. And if it was a really, really difficult shot, he'd do one, the operator would do one, and Alan would do one. And every single time, Stevens was the best.
No shit.
It's amazing.
Wow, you don't know, these people don't know this, you know, like you see Pasolini jumping on in front of Tonino. He's getting there trying to get his thing, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Maybe he's just referencing or doing a lot, but no, it's like legit. And
yeah.
You work with Steven Soderbergh, who shoots all his own stuff, right?
That's right.
That's wow, that's incredible. You know, that I'm a big fan of like directors who are engulfed so much that they could run every department. You know, I believe I've never had that chance, but David Fincher can run every department, whether it's sound or not, because he's that. And Steven's probably the same. God, that's amazing, right?
Well, the difference between Steven Soderbergh and David Fincher is that David Fincher is OCD, which is the director's disease, in my opinion. And so that's why he does 60 or 70 takes, because he's looking for perfection, which there's no such thing. And so maybe take 50 is, really, really good. But 51 might be perfect. Let's do it again. Steven Soderbergh is not like that. And Steven Soderbergh, even though he is the DP, the operator, quite often the editor, is still a collaborative filmmaker, because he knows that not one person can do it all. So he is open to suggestions and ideas and solutions, and he's absolutely a pleasure to work with because of that.
Yeah.
You know, because he recognizes everybody makes a contribution. Just because you've got the title of such and such doesn't mean that you can do it perfectly.
But what a monster task to take on all those jobs and something as big as Ocean's 11, 12, you know, like how do you just go, oh, it's just another day when you have all these things to do? It's enough to do the one job. We all know this.
He just loves it. We did a movie, Behind the Candelabra, and we were shooting the last day in Las Vegas at the old Hilton Hotel where Liberace used to perform all the time. And so we were shooting this really amazing scene where Matt Damon is imagining the funeral that Liberace would have wanted. And it's on the stage at the Hilton, and this hearse comes in followed by a bunch of dancers, and Liberace comes out of the hearse and floats up to a piano and sings a song, and then floats up out of the picture and to heaven. And so they called lunch, and Steven said, well, I think we got it. He said, let me cut it during lunch and we'll see if we have it. So I swear, and we came back after lunch, and about 20 minutes after we got back, Steven said, here, take a look. And on his computer, he hit play, and here's the scene cut together. And he says, okay, that's a wrap.
No way.
It was really something.
God, that is, I can't even think of that level, you know?
Yeah.
Well, that's this is why I love talking to you guys, is you have these insides, you know, these little cool inside stories that will never. Oh, that's amazing. Let's talk about Lee Van Cleef. You got to work with him, right?
I did.
The actor. Yeah. Long time ago.
Lee Van Cleef. On
From
what?
Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Well,
I didn't do the Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
No, I understand that. That was Tonino Delacoli. But we got, but I looked on your IMDb and I saw some thing where you had worked with him as an actor, maybe in the very beginning of your career. This is a great career if you can't go back. I love it. You got too much going on up there. I love it.
Believe me, at my age, that's why I have IMDb at my fingertips.
Yeah, that's where I go for all my stuff. So, but directing wise, I mean, so many great directors. I'm intrigued by Paul Thomas Anderson. I love his process from what I've researched. You did Magnolia. Come on,
Right.
that's amazing. Like Ron Howard.
No, that was absolutely. I just read a biography of Ron Howard, which is really wonderful, actually. And he's a terrific director, and again, a collaborator. No, that was, of course, Night Shift, and I steal a Michael Keaton line from Night Shift all the time. I say, "I'm an idea man. I got a lot of ideas." When I first worked with Robert Elswit, I came in and took over for a guy that had to leave. And so I watched dailies the first night I was there. They were terrific. And so after the dailies, I went up to Robert. I said, "I'm really looking forward to this." And I said, "I just want you to know, I'm an idea man. I have a lot of ideas, and you don't have to take them, but I hope you'll consider them." And he said, "Oh, of course." And he did. And but that's the whole thing of ideas and suggestions, is you don't have to take all my ideas, but just give it a little bit of thought, because it might be a good idea.
Yeah. And taking, I mean, collaborating with these guys that are high level dudes, yourself included, like it must be such a cool thing to be around as far as popping ideas back and forth. I always go in and I say that I sprinkle, I get an idea with the gaffer and then they do it and then I sprinkle on top and then we've worked together. So I come up with an idea, they have their ideas, then we sprinkle and then we're done.
Exactly.
Go in with a meter and go, blah, 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 blah. Okay, it's exactly the ratios, we're done. But
I'm sorry,
fun.
what's a meter?
Well, I love them. I know. Hey, you used a meter before I was born.
Oh, thank you.
But like, I love them just for my own psychosis. But yeah, but I love that thing. And it seems like from what you've said, unless you're being really nice, that you have been able to collaborate for most of your career. And that's amazing, considering you hear that this guy's, it's his way or the highway, but it seems like, but you work with some great people. Like I personally know some of these guys and they're just so nice, like
No.
Brewster is one of the nicest people I ever met. He's so nice. So
I haven't taken every single job that's been offered. And part of it is that I want to work with nice people who want to collaborate. I don't want to, Roger Deakins is a friend of mine and is, of course, an amazing cinematographer. But I don't want to work with Roger Deakins because he knows exactly what he wants.
Right.
That's it. He doesn't. Right. And so, okay, great. And I want to work with somebody who could do it without me, because I could do it without them, but together we'll do it better.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And how funny, like when you first started in your career, you're driving a set and your stomach hurts. Like, oh, this day's going to be a monster. But now you're in such a relaxed atmosphere. Not the work isn't relaxing by far, but around the people and the collaborators, like you can throw an idea. Hey, if he doesn't like it, who cares? We're friends. Like it's a great place to be. But we also have to get to that point, like you've been doing it so long that like you can turn down those jobs that seem uncomfortable in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What's Ridley Scott like? I mean,
well, I like Ridley Scott a lot. Someone to watch over me. At the end of the movie, I gave him a wrap gift. It was a biography of James Wong Howe.
Oh.
And he sent me a lovely note saying, thank you so much for the gift. Are you trying to tell me something?
Wow.
And, but another story on that movie, when we were shooting in New York, we had this big scene outside the building where the woman lived. And Ridley at one point said, what's lighting that building over there? I said, well, that's 5K bounce right there. He said, turn it off. So we turned it off. And, okay, that's the way I want it. So we shot, and we went to dailies the next afternoon before the night call, and that scene came up, and he said, what happened? I said, well, you turned off the light. I said, that was the fill light for that building next door, and now we don't see it. Oh. So then that night, he said, which is the fill light? So I said, that one. He said, turn it off. I turned it off. He said, that's the way it's going to look, right? I said, yeah, okay, turn it on.
Oh, nice.
And we used to go to dailies when we were shooting in town here before call. We'd go to the lab, Stephen Poster and I and Ridley. And one day after dailies, he said, you know, guys, on Blade Runner, I yelled at everybody. On this movie, I just yelled at you two guys. I said, should we feel special?
Yeah. But that's got to be such a great feeling now in this part of your career that dailies are there. You can see them on the monitor. It must be. How many sleepless nights did you have for dailies? Like,
no, there's no question. You sleep much better with HD.
oh,
but
right there.
But I do miss dailies. On Ocean's 12, we had digital dailies, but we saw them every day in a theater on a big screen.
Oh, that's really cool.
Absolutely. And I miss that. Seeing the dailies on your laptop or something is just not the same.
Yeah.
And also, it's like watching television at home. Watching dailies with the whole group is also really beneficial because you're all there together seeing the same thing and making comments and suggestions and having ideas together. It's the group that really is important. And just seeing him alone is not the same. I miss that a lot.
So get rid of the film part of it all. Just do the digital part. We're all good.
But you can still do it on a big screen.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing. So out of most, I mean, you've done an incredible amount of films. Which I'm always, people hate this, but which is there one that really, really is truly special to you that you worked so hard and it came out and you're like, that was some of my best stuff?
There is.
Oh, good.
The Fisher King.
No way.
It was just an unbelievable challenge and experience and collaboration. Terry Gilliam and Roger Pratt are so wonderful to work with. And I got this call to meet with Roger Pratt about the movie. And I knew that he'd done Brazil, which I was a big fan of. And so I knew he wasn't going to hire me because he was a British DP and they're lighting cameramen, you know. But I wanted to meet him. So I went to the meeting and we're getting along and telling stories. So then he stopped and he said, are you one of these Hollywood gaffers who wants to set all the lights? So I said, no, but I want to be involved in the setting of all the lights. He said, that's what I'm looking for.
Oh, good.
He said, my gaffer on Batman is responsible for half the lighting. I said, oh, well, great. No, I'd love to do it. So he said, so I've got a gaffer in New York and you'll do the LA part. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I said, I'm sorry, Roger, but I'm not interested in doing half a movie. And he went, oh. So luckily I ended up doing both parts.
Wow.
And so when we were scouting in New York, we went to Grand Central Station and we're walking through there and Terry Gilliam said, you know, what would be great is if when Robin and the young lady get to the main floor, everybody will start waltzing around the information booth. And the two producers, because that's not in the script, their jaws just dropped and they went, what? And that's what we did. And so when we were there looking, Roger said he had been there with the first gaffer and they were going to put some lights up on the roof coming through these windows, kind of like that still picture of Grand Central with the shafts of light, you know?
Yeah.
So I know the gaffer that he was with then, and he's a very sharp guy. And I said, okay. But we prepped for 4 weeks in New York. And whenever I had a moment, I'd go to Grand Central Station and look around. And each time it seemed bigger and bigger. And I was thinking, you know, this is going to take a lot because we were shooting at midnight and it's supposed to be 5 p.m.
Oh, wow.
So I came up with this idea of using a Musco light, which was fairly new at the time, on the south side when they were coming in the door from 42nd Street. And then when we got to the main floor, moving it around to the west side and putting it through those windows. So I told Roger about that. And he said, how long will it take to move it? So I said, 10 minutes. And it really did, because the Musco, like the BB light, is self-contained. The generator and the lights are all just one vehicle. You drive it around. And then inside, and I put half CTO on the Musco light because I had recently seen a movie that had some scenes in Grand Central, and the light coming through the windows seemed so blue compared to what's inside because it's very warm inside. So this way with half CTO, it helped a lot.
Wow.
And then inside, I just hid lights behind every pillar I could. And then we had a mirror ball on top of the information booth for the party kind of sequence. And we had a xenon into the mirror ball.
Oh,
but we had two xenons. And so when Amanda Plummer was walking across the floor in the first rehearsal, she went out of the light quite a bit. So I had a guy upstairs follow her with the xenon. But it looked like she was just in the window light all the way across because you didn't feel that she was in a spotlight, because this guy, who I don't even know who it was, never missed a beat. I mean, he was just perfect with his panning of the light. So it was a challenge, but in the end, it looks just so good.
No, that sounds beyond incredible. And is Terry on the fly a lot? Like from what I've seen in research and stuff, he's always, the brain's always going with his little.
No, absolutely.
Crazy, right? Like his mind is so intense.
One day he said, okay, put the 10 millimeter lens on the camera. And Robin Williams said, oh, it must be time for my close-up. Because Terry really loved these wide angle lenses a lot. So.
Oh, completely. And he makes them look so good. And even though they're, rounding it, they're just so perfect. Like,
absolutely.
And he does the drawings, and he always seems like he's just drawing up these things, and he's very complex.
He gave me a lovely drawing and with a nice note on it. And recently there was a BAFTA tribute to Roger Pratt. And my wife and I went to London for the tribute, which was absolutely wonderful, and to see Roger, who's in kind of failing health right now.
Yeah.
And Terry was there, and I went up to Terry and I said, you probably don't, Jim, of course I remember you, Grand Central Station, and we told stories about that night, and
right.
It was really something.
So with that Grand Central Station thing, it's totally fascinating. Your story was something I'll always regurgitate, but when you see it, I mean, was it, how do you feel when you first see it? Because it's a monstrous task. Do you know, okay, I got enough power with the xenon, or do you just boom, boom, it's like, is there any sense of, because everybody says, look, everything's a new challenge. Do you feel like a bit of anxiety for this, or do you just boom, 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 you just got it going?
No, there was there was a bit of anxiety because, as I said, each time I went there, it just looked bigger and bigger, And interestingly, while we were shooting, Vilmos Zsigmond was shooting in New York, and he came by to visit and say hello. Now, I have visited people on sets before, and the maximum I can stay is about 30 minutes. Vilmos stayed for 3 hours.
Of course he did. He's just absorbed.
And and watched what we were doing. And I took him up to this camera we had way above to look down on the main floor, and told him, we're doing this and that. And he was just, excited. It was really amazing.
Do you watch stuff to be inspired, or do you, how do your process?
Well, I watch a lot of movies, and some of them are an inspiration for sure, and some of them are, I'm not going to do that,
Right. How about painting? No, are you a paintings kind of guy where you can look at curves and be like, oh, this is the way it needs to be?
Whenever I teach a class, I talk about looking at the masters, Caravaggio, and I said, I think it's good to look at the masters and get ideas but don't talk about it. I just think that's pretentious, Well, Van Gogh and I are just,
Right. Estoraro loves Caravaggio. He speaks highly of him all the time, so that's kind of funny,
No, but Caravaggio, to me, is the person that's most concerned with lighting in his paintings. I did a movie, I've worked in Rome a few times, and once I was staying right near this square that had two churches, and in each of the churches there were Caravaggio paintings. And it's just so inspiring to see the way he uses soft light. He uses bounce light. He's bouncing maxis, I'm sure,
Right. But that's crazy. You saw the paint, not just here's a book. You saw the paintings.
Oh, that's right.
That's on my
Right.
my bucket list before I call it a
For
day.
sure.
To go
Yeah.
out there and see it. Wow. Yeah, everybody says, well, I don't like to watch movies or whatever because I don't know where I do. And I believe this Carl Jung theory of the collective unconscious. So as you're driving down the street, you're seeing things. As you watch movies, you're seeing things. So I think we're collecting whether we want to or not. And then now you're like, hey, Jim, go in there and do that. Somewhere in here, it just pops because you've seen it or researched it, or I'm a big proponent of that for some reason.
When I was about 10, I was visiting my father on a set. And, this was 1950, so a lot of lights. And I said to my dad, I said, how do you know where to put all the lights? Well, he said, the first thing is you have to start looking at light and being aware of light. When you're driving in a car, look at the light on a person's face that's driving. When you're in a bus or a plane, just look at light. And then when you have to recreate it, you have an image in your mind, and it really helps a lot. And that's the best advice I've ever had.
Yeah. Because somewhere, somehow, someone's going to say, do the car shot, do the shot at golden hour, do the shot in the morning, you have to have that. I did a podcast for a friend one time, and I said, when I wake up in the morning, I look, and out my window is this view, but the view changes daily. So every day I'm looking 365 different times. I look out that window and I see it's cloudy. It's not. The sun's like, it's weird. But I do that religiously on a daily basis, which is kind of neurotic, but hey, it's fun.
There's something wrong with being neurotic?
It's worked for a lot of people that we may have spoke about in this particular podcast.
Right.
So, well, let's we'll wind it up here. I can't thank you enough because we need part 3, 4, 5 of you. Because there's so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, John, and I do enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you so much. So thanks once again, Jim. You're the man. Much continued success, and thank you for all you've given us. Really.
You're very welcome.
Great stuff. And I got a lot of things I need to go study even more.
Okay, good.
Much, Jim.
All right. Bye-bye.